everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. This is a wonderful occasion to celebrate 40 years ago, walking down the street. I also want to thank you for coming tonight. Oh, thank you. So, sorry delay, we just... Also, thank you all for coming tonight.
Into the mic.
Huh? Into the mic, okay. I turned 80 on Monday, so thank you all for coming. I would like to acknowledge the founders of Camping, the campaign against moral persecution, Christabel Pole and John Ware. It was 1970 when the first Australian national homosexual rights movement was born, almost 50 years ago now. So I'm looking forward to commemorate the founding of Camping in 2020. Only two and a half years to go. It will be its 50th birthday when Camping goes gold. Peter Bonsall-Boone, or Bon, and I became a couple in 1966. When our community lived under conditions somewhat similar to those experienced during the Dark Ages. Just to name a few, and there's a very long list, but I won't go through all of them. So we had fear to be ourselves, to come out. Heteronormativity, a very modern word, but it was very strong in those days. We had lots of secrecy, criminality of male-to-male sex. In other words, when Bon and I, if we were having sex, the police could come in and arrest us, charge us, and perhaps go to court and be sentenced to jail for 14 years maximum. Shame. Just for love. Well, what time? Oh. Sorry about the technical. And homosexuality was part of the psychiatric, diagnostic and statistical manual, which meant that homosexuality was potentially a mental illness for everyone, every homosexual. Aversion therapy, which was rife. Fortunately, it phased out for a while, but now it's back again. But in the past, it was done by the medical profession. Now it is done by religious organizations. There was a general community ignorance and hostility. There was police brutality, and the list goes on and on. Yet, despite all these potential harmful, adverse and unfavorable conditions, Bon and I became foundation members of Camping in 1970. Over our almost 50 years of activism, we have experienced many positive changes for our community and consequently for ourselves. It's a bit more to come, so please bear with me. One very recent positive development I would like to mention is that Sydney University has established a 78ers Legacy Fund to celebrate the historic contributions of the 78ers. So donations you can make are taxable and details can be found. So use your search engine and put in 78ers Legacy Fund, and please support it, because that will enable the fund to have scholarships for people to do work within our community. I also would like to mention another change pertaining to the annual Mardi Gras parade. Its 40th birthday. Its 40th birthday we're celebrating today. On reflection, for me, the first Mardi Gras parade, now 40 years ago, was in a general sense a lonely event. And we walked down Oxford Street today and I had the same feeling, and I'll come to it why it was. At the time, our community was rejected. Thank you. We were unloved, we were invisible, we were isolated, we were facing insensitivity and ostracized by the general community. The general community was absent at the first parade, like tonight. However, recent Mardi Gras parades have been different and exhilarating experiences, and not just for me, but for the multitude of community spectators welcoming us, affirming the paraders for who we are and what we are. To me, this is indicative of how far we have come. But that's not the case for all our sisters and brothers in the greater Sydney metropolis. Oppression is rife in Western Sydney parts, with all its negative and pervasive attributes, including, no doubt, self-oppression. This lack of communal liberation and acceptance is right on our doorstep in Western Sydney. Just imagine what it would be like for our Western Sydney sisters and brothers to be strong enough to have their own Mardi Gras parade. Yeah. Perhaps in Parramatta, in Liverpool, in Blacktown, but perhaps in all of those places. It just would be extraordinary. I want to now turn to some of the community issues that I see that are in front of us. So my list of issues, it's not an exhaustive list, but they're the ones I can come up with. Recently we have won a major victory, marriage equality. But there are more issues facing our community today. The so-called religious freedom demands postponed during the federal parliamentary marriage equality debate will resurface again. We as a community need to mobilize to fight these proposed regressive measures. We don't want to go backwards, we want to go forward. The Marriage Equality Postal Survey results revealed to me that our comrades in Western Sydney pockets are struggling with issues that Bon, I and our community encountered at least 40 or 50 years ago. Within our community, we have transgender and intersex people who have distinct health and human rights issues. We need to lend our voices and action to our innocent refugee sisters and brothers held in detention centers like criminals, and particularly at Nauru and Manus Island. We as a community need to mobilize and lobby the federal government to become proactive about persecutions committed against our tribe in a large number of countries, probably about 60 countries in the world, where gay men like myself can be hung, can be shot. It's absolutely appalling. And the federal government could do something about it. Finally, I'm observing the world moving towards extreme conservatism. Our community needs to bolster our energies towards preserving the liberties we've attained. Look at what is happening in the USA for our rights, in Russia, in Poland, in Hungary, in Austria. It's becoming terribly pervasive. There are other countries as well. So, thank you very much.
She was a young woman in 1978, arrested here in Taylor Square. She's a filmmaker and an artist.
On this day of remembrance and celebration, I ask us to remember the reality bite of 1978. In 1978, bisexual people, gays, lesbians and others were second-class citizens. Some of us still are. Gender-diverse people could not buy clothes of their choice in the shops that they wanted to. That was illegal. Cops traded money and sex with street-based sex workers for justice. That's prior to the Woodrow Commission. I ask myself today how real justice feels, how real freedom feels. And though we've come a long way, I ask, have we won the revolution? Is it not bittersweet as we face old age, arthritis, ill health and poverty? My friend Steve Warren is here tonight. Welcome, Steve. Welcome. It was a struggle to get him here tonight, and it's wonderful to have him. I ask us tonight not just to congratulate and celebrate and eat rainbow-coloured cupcakes, but to also remember those who have not survived the journey to today.
Yes. Yeah.
I ask, what more can we do for freedom and justice? Not just to celebrate gay and lesbian marriage, that is a success, but to continue to fight for bisexual rights. There's no anti-discrimination protection for bisexuals still in New South Wales, for sex worker rights and for the rights of gender diverse people and other rights.
Shame.
Because until all of us are free, none of us are free. The 78ers created a best practice model for political inclusiveness by joining up at the cross with the homeless, street-based sex workers, Indigenous people and others. But we 78ers will not be content with being wheeled out like fossils and antiques at Mardi Gras and other events.
Yay. Yay.
This is a living revolution, and we want a living apology. It's not just about legacy, but it's a relevance for today. I've written my own wish list. I'm good at that sort of thing. I want a queer nursing homes not having to rely on the religions. I want disability-friendly world and a place where those who choose to have happy, ethical, polyamorous relationships like myself are acknowledged and treated with the same respect as others. I want sex workers to live in a decriminalised state in all of Australia. We cannot be complacent in these times, as absolute power absolutely fucking corrupts. We want to continue the job of resistance. That's the daily grind of revolution. Everyone here today can be a revolutionary by doing small actions. Australia is a world leader for the fight to end HIV due to the policies of inclusion and diversity. They've made telemovies about us and called us revolutionaries. I don't personally want that tag. I just reckon when life or laws are intolerable and your back's to the wall, the revolution lives today. My truth lives on in this t-shirt, and thanks to the Sydney Morning Herald, my arms are not crossed in resistance, but because the police were trying to touch my boobs. So, you tell your truth, that's mine, that's a very uncomfortable truth, but it's the truth. Small acts of resistance every day. Tell your truth. Revolution's about the everyday action, not putting us on pedestals like shame. It's about wake and reality bite. I hope our legacy is you take up your own power and write a campaign. Seize the moment, write your own wish list. Speak the truth of your experience. Picture 1978 again. Let history be a cautionary tale. The police were corrupt, people were bashed, I'd finished high school, there were no youth refuges. Queer people were thrown out by their families and lived on the streets. Many disappeared without a trace. No one searched for them. The police were not protectors of our community then. Picture this, not pretty. So many inconvenient truths. It's important, yes, to make peace with the past and to talk about forgiveness. But it's not about the talk, it's about the walk. It's also vital that our recollection of history is not sanitised. History was quick, dirty and violent. I commend the work of the police and the GLOW officers today and our collaboration, but I don't forget the past. It was violent, it was bloody. I don't want to be put up on a pedestal. Actually, I've got bad arthritis in my foot. I couldn't climb up on one tonight. But, you know, I'm sending the revolution right back to you. It's about practical things. Thank you.